2022. I really can't believe that it's already coming to an end. It's almost like we started like a few days ago and we are here. Like, where did all the time go to? This year, I really matured a lot mentally. I think mostly because I wasn't happy for like greater part of this year. I would say that I'm actually happier than I was when I started this year. So that's a good thing. I really learned a lot in this year and I thought that I should share some of those things with you. The first thing that I learned, and the number one thing that I learned, is to take one thing at a time. I think this is one of the reasons why I wasn't even happy because I wanted to do so many things at once, and when they weren't working out the way I thought they would, I just felt bad. Like, what am I doing? Like, what's the point? And I stopped. Like, I started my channel. That was when, like, 2 years ago, and I kind of like I've been on and off, kind of abandoning it, starting and abandoning it. And this year, I started to try to put my hands on other things like Instagram, Twitter, and all other stuff. But coupled with going to school and all of that, it didn't work the way that I planned. Also, I tried to like multitask, and I just tried to multitask basically in a lot of like different things and aspects of my life, and they weren't going the way that I wanted it to go. And I think that's one of the reasons why I wasn't really happy. But I just came to a point where, you know what, I'm just going to focus my energy on one thing, and I won't even lie that I have felt much happier. Like when it's time and it's time for me to expand or do other things, I just learned that okay, it's time for me to do this, or it's time for me to move on to this. So that is a very big thing that I learned this year. Next thing I learned was that nobody cares about me the way I think they do. I won't lie, one of my biggest flaws is overthinking. I overthink every single thing, every single detail, as minute as you think that it might be. Oluchi is overthinking that thing. Oluchi is like imagining like different scenarios and things in her head. I think it's because I have like a very overactive imagination. Like I tend to get lost in my own head, and because of that, I feel like I'm always like trying to see or think from people's perspective, if that makes any sense. So whenever I want to do something, I'm always like, oh, if I were this person, what would I think of me? People call it being introspective. I don't know. It's a good thing, it's a good strength that I have, at the same time it's a flaw, if that makes any sense. One time when I was overthinking, if that makes any sense, I um I thought about something. I was like, if since all of us have the same thought processes, because there are a lot of like relatable content online, when this happens, and everybody's like, oh yeah, that same thing kind of happens to me. So I just realized I was like, okay, it seems like we all as human beings have almost the same thought processes, but almost the same thought processes. So it's very possible that the way I think is the way somebody else sees me. Let me explain. I try to see things from other people's perspective. Like the way I view the world, I try to imagine that this is how other people saw me. Because everybody's so immersed in their own world, immersed in their own problems. You begin to think about whatever is happening to you or whatever it is that you're doing, whatever it is that you're saying. So I was like, so if when it comes to my turn, like if something happens to someone else, I'm just like, oh, I feel sorry for them, or I don't even really think much about it and move on. Is it not the same thing that other people are doing? Like there's a very high chance that other people are also looking at me and not thinking anything about what I'm doing, and I'm just the only person that is just killing myself with what people are saying when nobody's really saying anything. So that is one thing, and I'm really happy that I learned it because it really helped me to be way freer than I was, and allowed myself to, when I say spread, but I really allowed myself to go and do certain things that normally I wouldn't even do. The next thing I learned is that perfection is not always good. I'm not going to lie that this point is kind of related to the last point that I made. I I won't say that I'm a big perfectionist, but I'm a little bit of a perfectionist. I'm not even going to lie. I love things to, like, if I imagine something to come out a certain way in my head, and that thing doesn't come out the way I want in my head, I begin to obsess over it. I begin to get annoyed. I begin to get angry, or begin to repeat it and repeat it until I get that particular thing that I am looking for. And it's something that I had to learn too. Most of these lessons that I am giving or I'm saying, or most of these I'm saying, these are things that I found out on my own. Nobody like really told me. I just did a little like deep thinking at different points in time during this year, and I just like came up with these conclusions. Anyways, I really just thought about it like, why are you trying to be perfect? Like nobody cares. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like I said, it goes back to the other point. Nobody cares. Like it doesn't have to be like, even I myself, I'm like, when it comes to like other people's things and I see like imperfections or I see flaws, instead of me to like castigate it, I celebrate it. And this is me being like truthful and being very honest. Like if I see a flaw in someone or something that they did or something, basically something that they cannot help, even if it's something that they can help, rather than judging them first as a person, I normally celebrate it like, oh, that this is actually really nice. I like the way they did this. Like even though that thing looks like this is kind of realistic. But when it came to myself, I was more tough. or strict, like you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed. Like I just like, say I was giving myself rules and then punishing myself for not meeting up to those rules, or let's say I give myself standards and I'll punish myself for not meeting up to those standards. But when it came to like other people, I was more forgiving, and I was like, why you like this to yourself? Why you like this to yourself? You know pretty well that realistically, everything will not come out the way you want it to come out. So why then are you causing a problem for yourself by doing all of this? So that was something I just learned. I just learned to be more forgiving of myself and just understand that if things don't come out the way I want them to come out, or they're not near perfectly where I want them to, it's okay. Like nobody really cares about it the way I think I do. I'm the only person obsessing literally over it. One thing I learned this year is how to speak up. When someone offends me, I won't lie. Like most of the time, the first thing that comes to my mind instead of anger is trying to be understanding, especially if it's like a very big issue. I try to be understanding, trying to see from their perspectives, like, oh, it's very possible that maybe this is this and this is what happened. I try to like give excuses on their behalf, like, oh, this is what happened. And even though that thing hurt me, I'm just trying to be understanding, trying to give them excuses as to, or help give them excuses as to what they did. Oh, it's possible that this will happen. Maybe their mind wasn't there. Maybe they're not feeling happy. Da 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 da. And I'm there, hurt, sad that such a person, that someone will do something like that to me, and then that person will do it again and again and again and again, and then one day it just builds up. And I just burst. Like it's almost like out of the blue. Maybe the person doesn't even do something so serious, but because of the past anger, the past anger that I have been storing from time immemorial, I just released everything on that person. And I did it, when was that? This year, early this year, with my roommates. And I won't lie, I felt really, really bad afterwards, because all of that would have been avoided if I had just spoken up one time. If I don't like something, instead of like, let me just ignore it, I just say, look, I don't like this, what happened, this, da, da, da. And the thing is that I'm busy getting scared that what if I speak up and this person is not happy with what I said. Funny enough, when I do speak up, no, they don't get angry. They instead they are even understand. They're like, okay, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that is what I did, da, da, da. And then it doesn't happen again. As opposed to just storing hurts and anger and bad experiences and then just bursting on someone. Next thing I learned is consistency. I'm saying consistency as to regards my channel and even my personal life. So I do so many things. I do have, everybody has goals, everybody has aspirations. I do have goals, I do have aspirations. And there's so many things I need to put in place right now to get there. But if I'm being really, really honest with myself, procrastination has been a very big enemy of mine. I'm not even going to lie. I know what to do, but I don't do it, or I start it and I don't finish it. And this is something that I really had to really talk to myself and like, you know what, you're not going to do that anymore. Like even though like I procrastinate really too well, I'm like, it's okay. It's time to work, and that's just something that I've learned. And you feel like it's not a big deal, especially if it's something I do every single day. Like I see all over social media. This one I learned it from social media. Consistency doesn't have to be about putting 100% every day. Sometimes you put 1%, sometimes 20%, sometimes 100%, sometimes 50%. Do you understand me? So it's something that I learn at least every day. Let it be that I am doing something to reach where I'm going. I have kind of like, I won't say like deadlines, but I do have like things I do want to achieve before the end of 2023. And I have learned that if I really want to achieve them, because one of the things I wanted to achieve in this year 2022, I did achieve them, but not the way I wanted them. Like it wasn't good. So I just know that if I had put in more effort, this is what I was. If I just put in the bare minimum or a little bit over the bare minimum, and I got this kind of result. Imagine when I do actually become intentional and put in effort to get what I want. Imagine what's going to happen. So that's something that I really, really learned consistently. I put in effort every single day to get to where I want, especially starting from now till the end of 2023. My next point is acceptance. This is kind of related to what I've already been saying, but I really want to buttress this point. Is that when something happens, instead of going back to think about what has happened, why it happened, different things that you could have done as to not make it happen, the most important thing is that it has happened. There's nothing you can do. And that is like something I had to learn, because most of the time something will happen and I'm there thinking about, oh, maybe if I have said this, it won't go like this. If I had done this, it won't go like this. If I had done like this, it won't go like this. But like it has happened, it has happened. All you have to do, or what is left now, is to learn from your mistakes and move on. There's nothing like, no matter how much I sit down and grieve about it and cry about it and talk about it and think about it, it has happened and life still goes on. There's nothing you can do. Even in the past, it's just a big recipe for disaster in my own opinion. So instead of sitting down, you accept what has happened, you learn from what has happened, and you move on for whatever. Nobody's going backwards here, and that's just what it is. So if something happens to me, I've learned not to grieve. That's something I've learned. I've learned not to grieve. I've learned to stop complaining. I've learned to stop turning over that scenario, reliving it over and over again, because it just keeps making you hurt. Like if a scenario that made you angry, you're going to get angry over and over again. If something scenario that made you sad, you're going to keep on getting sad over and over again. And why are you doing that to yourself? this thing has happened. What can you do? Nothing. But can you do something moving forward so that you don't prevent so that you prevent that thing from happening again? Yes. So why don't you focus on doing that instead of focusing on what has already happened? I hope these points helped you as much as they helped me. If there's any other thing that you learned and you'd like to add, please leave them down in the comments and I'm going to be reading them. I hope you enjoyed and I'm going to see you next year, right? Next year.